Coming to you from the Tar Heel State, this is the Carolina Commercial Real Estate Connection, bringing you industry insights and hot takes from Carolina real estate experts, helping you begin, grow, and scale your commercial real estate portfolio. And now your hosts, Tony Johnson and Cameron Pearson.
Welcome to another episode of Carolina Commercial Real Estate Connection. Today we have Sam Wilson on the show. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, Tony. The pleasure is mine.
Yes, sir. And Sam is CEO of Bricken Investment Group and also hosts a commercial real estate podcast himself called Scale. It's called Scaling Your Commercial Real Estate, right?
Very close. It's called How to Scale Commercial Real Estate.
How to Scale Commercial Real Estate. I was telling Sam right before we got going here, Sam was one of the first people I listened to. So he has tons of episodes, over 800 from what I understand, and there is a ton of content. So please follow him as quickly as you can if you want to really get a great understanding of commercial real estate.
Awesome. Thanks for that plug, Tony. Yeah, there's so much content out there at this point, and I've had so many great guests on like yourself that are in the commercial real estate space that it's not uncommon for me when I want to research a topic, because obviously 830 episodes, you don't remember all of it. I'll actually go back to my own website and find guests and re-listen to the episode, and it's almost like it's the first time I listened to it, because it might be 400 episodes ago, and it's like, oh yeah, I had Tony Johnson on. He was a commercial contractor. There it is, yeah. And you'll say some things inside the episode that I've long since forgotten. So it cuts both ways, where it's truly an honor to have so many great guests on that show.
Yeah, and you have had a fantastic cast of guests for sure. They've been very educational. So you're doing a great service to the commercial real estate industry. So we applaud you for that and appreciate that. So, Sam, I know when you're always dealing with everyone, we're finding out all about your guests. So could you take a moment, I think you say in 60 seconds or less, and tell us about yourself, right?
You know my intro, man. Yeah, I always say that. I say in 90 seconds or less. I mean, where'd you start? Where are you now? And how'd you get there? So I'll try to
we've got it.
do you a solid and repeat it here on your show, except this time it's my version of that story. So market, set, go. I'm a simple guy. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I've got a wife, 3 kids, a giant 120-pound dog. You know, I live a simple life. I come from a hardworking family. We're a Midwestern family. I got 5 siblings, 25 nieces and nephews. I'm a great uncle at this point, which is kind of weird and crazy. But grew up with a very simple life. Hard work was all that we've ever known. And that's kind of my story, is that we grew up relatively poor, rich in family, rich in values, but financially not very well off. And so yeah, I've grown up doing and knowing the hustle. I've sold catalpa worms, I've sold cut up pallets, I've chained hubcaps to the pillars when we were kids and sold them on the street. You name it, we've done it. And that's just kind of that work ethic has been what has steered and guided what I've done up to this point in life. One of the things that I'm really, really, really adamant about right now in the commercial real estate space is finding ways to stop trading time for money. And I think that's been a kind of lifelong journey. Is you grow up poor, you're always looking for the next way to make a buck. And so you're just constantly on edge going, all right, how do we make more money? And not really thinking about how it trades into time, or trading that time for that money. So that's one of the things I'm really focused on right now.
That's fantastic. So you have 3 kids. How old are your children?
8, 5, and 3.
Oh boy, you're in the thick of it.
We are in the thick of it. Yes, sir.
So what brought you into commercial real estate? So kind of give us a little background on that.
Yeah. So growing up, again, you know, with our background in just the hard work ethic that was kind of instilled in us from even the single digits, we all owned our own businesses. It was one of those things where just very independent, very entrepreneurially minded, also uneducated. I mean, my parents didn't go to school. My grandparents, I think my grandfather graduated from 6th grade. I mean, just not the, generationally well-educated family. That being said, that doesn't leave you at the top of the pile for, getting great jobs and, those sorts of things. So you learn just to make a living on your own. owned my own flooring company, actually built a flooring company with my brother until the age of 25 when I bought out part of that. And that was right in the middle of the Great Recession, which was a very painful time to buy out a company. Ran that until I was 30, had grown that business back by 2012 and sold it. And here I was, 30 years old, male with no education outside of a high school degree and no experience outside of the trades. I know you're in the trades. We were in a commercial flooring business and had no other experience. And I always say it was the good Lord having mercy on an idiot. I just fell into real estate. One day I saw, and again, I have a background in building construction, and so I understood what I was looking at. And I just saw a foreclosure coming up that was near where we were living. And I went and looked at it, and 2 hours later, I owned a house. So I bought it at the foreclosure auction. I made a pile of money on it. And I said, there's something to this real estate thing. I had no idea. I had no aspirations before that morning of ever getting into real estate. So that afternoon, I guess I was in the real estate game, and that was 11 years ago. And it's been every iteration of the real estate game since then, from fix and flip to wholesaling to lease options to creative finance to owning a portfolio of rental properties to then getting into commercial real estate. And this is the lane we're in now, is commercial real estate. And we own every asset class currently. I don't want to own every asset class long term, but we own everything from multifamily to parking to land to storage, RV resorts, and laundry facilities. So it's it's kind of a wild ride we've been on, but that's the long version of the question you asked.
Wow, and you're in quite a wide ranged portfolio there. So I know it looked like I've kept up with you a little bit there. So I know you had some multifamily assets and then moved into the RV resort space and now have moved into laundry, it looks like is what you're primarily doing right now. Is that correct?
It is. And I will say this, one of the ways that we scaled in the commercial real estate space, and many investors have scaled in that, is by partnering with other great operators. So one thing that we've been able to do in being in so many asset classes now, land I'm directly involved in, RV resorts I'm directly involved in, but on our multifamily stuff, on our self-storage things, those have all been fund of funds. And I think most of our listeners are probably familiar with that term. And that's great for us, where we can get exposure to some asset classes and some great operators without having the day-to-day exposure of the operational side of things. So, some of that seems a little helter-skelter and a little bit, less focused, but it's also been very opportunistic in that some great deals have been brought our way. And we said, hey, yeah, I'd love to participate. And, we do participate meaningfully with the general partnership team on that fund of funds, but it's also something where we can scale without adding or needing additional bandwidth to really take those on.
Sure. And for the listeners that don't understand fund of funds, could you kind of do a quick synopsis on that?
Sure. It's super simple. When you are looking to partner with an operator on a opportunity, there's one of two methods you can take. Method one is to become a general partner, which you need to really have day-to-day exposure if you're on the general partnership team in order to qualify as a general partner. You can't just bring money to the table in exchange for general partnership shares. It gets a little messy if you were to ever get audited on that front. The way around that is to form your own LLC that then becomes an investor into that opportunity. So, whatever we call it, Sam Wilson LLC, I go out to Tony Johnson, I go out to 5 of my buddies, and we say, all right, we're all going to pool our money into the single LLC, and then we become one single limited partner investor in that opportunity. So yes, you come in on the LP side, but when you bring a larger check to the table, generally $1 million or more in a fund of funds opportunity, you can then command some different terms as an LP that maybe the average $50,000 check writer can't command. So you might say, okay, let's say the splits are 70-30, or let's call it a 70-30 split, after the preferred return is hit. So maybe you can go back to that operator and say, all right, you know what, we're going to negotiate an 85-15 split for bringing a much larger check. And that's good for the operator because obviously they deal with one person, not say on a $50,000, at a time, that's 20 different investors. They deal with you, just a single investor on that front. So it's good for everybody all the way around, but that's really how fund of funds versus a, direct general partnership share may work out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So easily stated too, what you're saying is it just makes it easier. So someone who's needing that extra bit of funds, right, to make a deal work. Instead of going and raising, 10 different people, 100,000, calling tons of people, they can come get with you on a funds to funds basically, and they just have to deal with you alone. And then you get in as the partnership, you demand more, but it's a lot less work for somebody to get that capital than going and raising it out on their own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's good for us because then we get to, we collect that difference. So our investors, say you were the investor that was going to come in at 50 grand. If you invest through me, you may either get better splits through me and that LLC, and or even if I just match that current sponsor's terms, it makes no difference to you. So there's not really any worry about, having an investor go around you or something else like that. I may say, hey, Tony, the splits are 70-30, whether you invest through me or directly through the sponsor. And so it works out well that way. And then we just collect that difference. So it doesn't cost our investors anything, and it doesn't cost it does cost the operator something, obviously, but we'll collect that, say, 15-point difference that between the 70 and the 85.
You're helping both sides, right? Yep. So, the operator needs the money, so you're helping them, right? Obviously, and you're the one that's bringing the money that you already have the investors that trust you, that you're going to bring them a good deal. So you're helping both sides of the situation, collecting a little bit in the middle just to take care of what you're putting together. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's a great way for us to diversify our portfolio, and because, not every investor knows every sponsor in the country. And so it's a great way for them to come to us because we, get in front of a lot of people and see a lot of deals and say, all right, well, here's an opportunity that you probably otherwise would not have seen. So get in. And, I even had an investor call me yesterday and said, hey, thank you very much. This is a fantastic deal. I'm like, I know, it's great. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, that's the key, I think, is being diversified. People that have been stuck and really honed in on just multifamily, a lot of those people are really in bad spots right now. So, so being diversified is not very bad. And it's not a very bad thing. So
it's not a bad thing. I would say, though, that in the end, and we are solely focused, I will say this now, and I've been in the laundry business for about 5 years, actually for more than 5 years now. That has been something I've just kind of kept to myself. It's been like my own little kind of pet project on the side, making great money. And I've not even talked to my investors about it until this year. But one of the things that we're doing now is I'm really honestly saying no to every other opportunity outside of what we're doing inside of the laundry business, because that's something we're scaling, zeroing in on, really laser focusing on building that team, building the processes, and just going long in that business. We can get into why. But I would say that having a laser focus is also not a bad thing either. It just, because if you're going to scale and grow your business, you got to put the blinders on. And that's something I always tell investors, for better or for worse. I would say probably our portfolio hasn't grown the way it could if I had really specialized and stayed in one lane and just said no to everything else. So that's something, if I rewound the tape 5 years, that I would redo. I'd say, hey man, Sam, dude, let's just stick with one thing and one thing alone and know it like the back of your hand and look nowhere else. So, but to your point, on the other side of that, yes, there's some multifamily operators right now that I know have been kind of running the same playbook for the last decade, that suddenly that playbook's not working. And they're going, oh man, that class B minus value add multifamily property is no longer working out. And I see a lot of people pivoting. So that's another thing. Pivots can happen. But I would say, by and large, if your listeners are just getting started, the one piece of advice I'd give is to hyper focus. And when the pivot makes sense, pivot, but maybe be a little less like me and don't be as helter-skelter.
Yeah. Well, I think that what you're doing is good. You're laser focused on the laundry, but you also are very, smart, in my opinion. I've seen some of your deal decks on your RV resorts, and they look really good. So one big compliment I would make is, Sam, I see a lot of people's deal decks. Your deal decks are very professional. They give a lot of information, right?
Thank you.
So he makes a great deal deck. So if anybody hasn't, contacted him, definitely look Sam up and look up Bricken Investment Group and take a check on them out. So RV resorts are not being done by a ton of people. So
Right.
nor are laundry. So I'd love to dig into kind of both of those, and so
Mhm.
people can understand them a little bit more, because they're different. You know, not everybody's out doing self-storage, car washes, multifamily, right? So those are everywhere every day.
Right.
These two are definitely special niches that I think a lot smaller group of individuals are doing. So
Yep.
let's first, if we can, let's kind of go through RV resorts. So these aren't RV. They might have a mixture. I think in some of yours that I've seen, there was a mixture, but what your platform and what you're looking at is for the resort community for RVs, right? So can we
Yes.
kind of go through what that looks like and what you look for in that type of a park?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we don't use the word RV park. The reason we don't use it because we're not buying parks. You know,
Okay,
when I think of an
exactly.
RV park, I think of something, and I always use this example because I used to tread the from Indianapolis, Indiana, which is where I grew up, to the, I-70 corridor all the way to Denver. Like we used to drive out there when I was, early 20s to go out and go skiing back before I could afford a plane ticket. Thinking of driving to Denver now just sounds miserable. But I'm thinking of that I-70 corridor in the middle of Kansas, and you pull off at night with your RV to stay for one night and then keep on driving. That's what I think of as an RV park, an overnight place to dump your tanks, get some fresh water, and plug in for the night and run your air conditioner. That's an
Yeah.
RV park. I have no interest in RV parks. Reason being is because it is very market cycle sensitive. That's the word I'm looking for. Market cycle sensitive. Whereas an RV resort, maybe not as much. So we're looking for destinations or things that are close to destinations. They need to have amenities. They need to have pools. They need to have, fishing. They may be on a lake. They may have marinas attached to it. There may be, there's short-term, there's long-term stays. There is restaurants on site. There may be bar and grills. There may be, you name it. These things have amenities and a draw that is generally all their own. So our first two resorts that we bought last year, very different profiles, but again, they were resorts. People come and stay there for extended periods of time, and if not, just for a 3 or 4 day weekend. So, and they're also very close to metropolitan areas, within a couple of hours of a major city, where people can get to it for the weekend and spend the weekend there. So destination-oriented resorts is what I would say is a better and safer bet than maybe that transient overnight on the I-70 corridor park that people typically think of. So I will preface it with that. Each of the 3 RV resorts serve a very, very unique and different consumer profile, which is also kind of fun. Because our first 2 are that true RV resort that where people, again, long-term leases on a lot of the spaces, but they have all of those wild amenities. Like I said, even one of ours has, I think, 244 boat slips on a marina. I mean, giant marina, which marinas just, those things print money. That's a crazy business all in and of itself.
Absolutely. It is.
But those 2 are great. And then our third RV resort still has, a very nice bar and grill on site, still has a laundromat actually attached at that resort as well.
You're double dipping on this one.
I know, right? Which is great. It's kind of fun to bring a little bit of that industry expertise to that particular investment. But that one's more longer term stays. So again, this is catering to a different consumer profile. That these it's not a man camp in the sense that it's not out in the oil and gas fields, another RV park type of investment I would wildly avoid, just because it's one industry sensitive. In this case, there's 3 to 4 industries in the area where people will come and they work 3 to 4 months at a time. So they'll bring their rigs, they'll park them there, they stay there, they eat at the bar and grill, they do their laundry, but it doesn't have the swimming pool, the fishing pond, all that stuff that maybe our other 2 parks cater to. So that said, it's again, it serves a different consumer profile. It's more of the medium term stay park, but it's something that will continue to be in demand because we're servicing rock quarries, electric generation plants. There is local casinos there. There is what's the other? There's paper mills in the area. There's all these giant industries in the area that people come to work at, specialized trades come to work at for short periods of time. And that's kind of who we serve at that particular RV resort. So anyway, I know I've prattled on probably long enough about those 3 different types, but it really is just kind of trying to figure out what the local demand is for the resort that you're buying. It could be a national park. It could be some other sort of natural feature that draws people there. But I think that's an important part of the RV resort space to be looking at is, what is the demand and why, and staying away from the RV park in particular.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's dig in on this a little further. So yeah, so we understand, because I had a RV for my family. I got 4 kids, and when COVID hit, right before COVID, actually, we bought one, and so there was a massive demand right after. I actually sold mine a couple months ago and made like 40 grand the thing after like
That's
3,
awesome.
which is unheard of, right? But anyway, the reason I bring that up is because we had so much fun going to these resorts. We would go to the mountains, and you go to these, it would be in this, 38-foot RV driving through the mountains. It's crazy. Then you're parking this thing in the mountains, but then you've got fishing and hiking and going and looking. And then we would go to the ones near the beach, and they've got the water parks, the grills, and they've got, these places are not like what you thought about 20 years ago. These things are top of the line. They're building new ones, and these things are amazing. And they're drawing a whole different type of clientele than they probably used to years ago. So that's amazing. So I understand now kind of, the philosophy of the resort style that you're looking for. When you're seeing an opportunity come your way for one of these resorts, when you dive in, what are the things that you're looking for? What are the things that are, oh, this is a no-go? Or what are the things that are, wow, this might be a great opportunity?
I would say there's multiple, the RV resort and the laundromat space are almost identical in the things you're looking for, in the sense that you're looking for operational inefficiencies. So you're looking, and this is going to sound basic, but just case in point, in the last 3 laundry facilities that we bought, only one of them had a phone line. All right. A phone line. Like, what year is this? I don't know when the Bell telephone came out, but it wasn't in 2023. It's been around for a while. Right. That said, you can find those same operational inefficiencies in an RV resort. No website. Maybe like one of the first one we bought last year, it literally had a Hotmail address that you had to email to wait for a response on to see if you could get a site booked. Are you kidding me? Like, this should be online booking. You shouldn't have to talk to anyone in order to give that company money and then pull in and park. That site should be automatically assigned and emailed to you. There should be no human contact between, I'd like to get a site for the weekend. Is it available? Click on the one you want. Put your credit, like Airbnb. Put your credit card in and then pull in and park like that.
And I've run into that doing the same thing. So we'll drive, because we would just drive and then, let's try and find a place. And yeah, you'd have places where certain ones you're calling and it's just like somebody's personal voicemail. Yeah. And other ones, you're booking online. You can look at the map of what spot you want to grab and what amenities you want with the spot. If you want to be on the water, if you want to be here, it can be, and it's obviously those are the ones that we would book and go to.
Right.
The ones that have the convenience of booking, not the one where Bob's answering, you're getting his personal voicemail.
Right.
So that's an easy transition that you can make, I'm sure, and turn around, traffic to your site relatively quickly.
Right. Because the number of visitors that are just like, oh, bag it. Tony didn't pick up his phone. I got to keep going. Like, and I did that. My wife and I, same store. We bought an RV in October of 2019, obviously with no idea of what was coming up, and we put 25,000 miles on our RV in 2020. It was a blast.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah, all.
It was great.
It was great.
It was great. But and it gave us some exposure to the space to be like, oh, okay, we understand kind of how this works. So yeah, those are it. Operational efficiencies. You're looking for places again that where you're emailing someone to get an address. What's their website look like? Do they have online booking? Do they have premium internet? Do they do firewood delivery? What are all the ancillary revenue streams that you can tack on at these facilities? Do they have one of the things we're doing right now is meter bill back. So at the pedestal. So if you have, because a lot of these resorts will have a component of maybe 50 or 60% of those sites will be annual sites, which are great because it's like a long-term tenant, except they're not there very often. They're not allowed to live there, but they may come in and stay for a week and then leave for a week and stay for a week, or come in for 4 days. But as opposed to, the old, which is the third thing we're working on our third park right now, as opposed to just eating that $8,000 a month utility bill at the park level, you can then bill back via these online booking platforms and actually charge the user for what the utilities they use for that weekend. So let's say, Tony, you pulled in a 40-foot Class A diesel pusher with 3 air conditioners on top, and you wanted to run it at 60 degrees and it's 110 outside all weekend long. Well, great. You know what? That's going to go on your credit card when you pull out Monday morning, get automatically charged to your account. Well, thanks for doing that, but you just used a ton of electricity. So as opposed to, again, us eating that, we bill that back to the end user. And it's just part of the agreement when they sign in. It also encourages people not to be dumb about the way they use utilities, because now they're paying for it. And so those are small things that they're not expensive. They're not expensive. They've done it in the marina business for a long time. And so kind of adapting some of that technology to the RV space is a really meaningful way to improve the bottom line. So all that said, those are things you're looking for, is these operational inefficiencies going, okay, how can we streamline this? How can we cut expenses? How can we improve the operations at the park? How can we get more people to stay? And that's just, I mean, it's blue ocean really in that RV resort space for those types of improvements.
Well, okay, those all sound fine. So then doing that, one inefficiency that I always noticed in the parks, and I wonder if you have a thought on this, is the Wi-Fi accessibility at these parks a lot of times was absolutely horrendous. Have you guys seen that and tried to address that in any of the parks that you've taken over?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's either it's horrendous or it's abysmally slow, if it works at all. And that's something that each park we have right now has had to come up with its own unique solution. So we don't have a standardized process or product yet. And that's just part of the iterative process of owning things and figuring out what works and what doesn't. It's also incumbent upon who the utility providers are in the area and what we can do to make that work. So one of the challenges we ran into in our RV resort in Oklahoma, no local utility could get internet to the park because of the way the railroad ran near it. And so there was some utility easements and this and that and inabilities to actually get hardwired internet there. Well, enter Starlink. Hey, why don't we see what it costs to get Starlink on site? And so, and again, just finding these processes along the way. So yes, we've just implemented Starlink at this, and the other two properties we have now, new internet, new, and again, I'm not an IT guy, Tony, so I can barely send an email and get on Zoom. But I do know that we've set up now high-speed internet with routers throughout the park that then broadcast it and have an ability, again, for customers to pay for that high-speed internet. And that's the same thing we're doing at our park in Oklahoma right now, is figuring out what the data usage is like, how much can we get from Starlink, and then finding out ways. I was on the phone yesterday on our weekly call on that park, figuring out ways to then segment that internet coming into the park and then have a high speed option, which it is high speed, but have a paid higher speed option, and then have that more free, hey, you know what, check your email.
It's the same thing they do at the hotels, right? So
right.
And those are the $1 billion companies. So you're implementing smart philosophies on these properties. So that is the way to increase your bottom line. So you're definitely picking them up. And so everybody's getting a little tidbits here on how to create some better efficiency in looking at something like this, and where you can create value and create money. And this isn't rocket science, right? Like you said, it's pretty basic stuff, but it makes a lot of money when you can sit in here and come up with a plan and implement this plan. And then each time you do it, you're probably getting better. And
the thing is, and this is why I say laundries and RV resorts parallel each other in many ways. They are predominantly mom and pop owned. And when mom and pop stares down the barrel of, all right, well, so it's going to cost us, we got $350,000 in capital improvements between pedestals, between, repaving the drive aisles, to internet improvements, to upgrading the laundry facilities. I mean, you name it, they're going, man, that's a lot of money. And it is a lot of money, no doubt. $3.50 is a lot of money to me. $350,000 is a whole lot more. And so I don't take that lightly when I say those terms, but it's, to them, they look at it as an expense. And for us, we look at it as a return on investment. Like, okay, so we put 350 grand out there. Well, if we can get 70 back a year on that investment, that's great. I'll do that every day. That's a phenomenal return. So that said, those are things that when you look at those operational efficiencies, there's reasons they haven't done those. And we see the same thing in the laundry space. There's reasons they haven't done it, because new laundry equipment is just stinking expensive. I mean, it's expensive. And so it's a single operator, single store owner, single RV resort owner. They just don't have the vision or the foresight to say, okay, this is what it's going to take to really meaningfully get a return on our investment. So, and also the other part of that's that mom and pop ownership group is typically, late 50s, early 60s. Again, why would they put all this money into an investment that maybe, they don't want to be running these parks when they're 80. So they don't want to put the money in and make them, really turn it around in a meaningful way. So there's lots of opportunity there for consolidation and a sophisticated ownership group to come in and really turn these into much more efficient machines.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dig in a little on laundry. So me, I don't know much about the laundry space. So, all I would ever view with laundry is I always, what is the one detergent that is they're constantly looking, I don't know, they're looking for through environmental reports that's leaking down into the earth. So do you ever deal with that? I know that's runs in with dry cleaning. Do you have anything with laundry places that they're worrying about stuff falling into the ground?
No, no, we don't.
It's perk, right?
Perk? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Okay. So yeah, that's one thing that they're always looking at. That's a detergent in the perk or whatever when they're doing environmental phase studies that they can run into. So
yeah,
that's always been something. And the other thing that I would always think with laundry is, is that an outdated service? But obviously not. You're investing in it and it's being successful. So what are you seeing long term in that space?
Yeah, that business is only poised to grow. So to come back to your point there on, things going into the soil and stuff like that, that is predominantly, actually it is dry clean related, which we don't touch dry cleaning. I don't do anything with dry cleaning. It's not a service that we offer. Yes, and you should run. There's two types of properties I won't buy. One is anything that's ever had a dry cleaner on it. And then the second one is gas stations. So we actually were buying under contract on a laundromat recently that was previously a gas station back in the 80s, and they had converted the building, and you couldn't tell it looking at it. And I started walking the lot, and I'm like, this is weird the way this pulls in. I'm like, I could just almost, if I use my mind's eye, envision gas pumps here. And so then I went back and started doing research, and I contacted the state for their underground storage tank department and had them pull records on it, and lo and behold, there were still storage tanks on site. So we had to walk. I'm like, no, I'm not buying this. And then there were disputes between major oil corporations that had owned it back in the 80s and early 90s about leakage and who owned it and who's responsible and cleanup and abatement. And I'm like, gotta go. Don't care.
Yeah, there's actually there is a website. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's a website where you can actually locate records. They have like a national database of all of the tanks. Now it doesn't have every single tank out there.
Sure.
It has where tanks should be located, where they're still located. So is that what you're referring to?
It's not actually here, and I would imagine I have no reason to think otherwise. But you can go to the state and have the state records. So I just called, there's an office in the state of Tennessee that just handles underground storage tanks. And so I just went to them, and it's a free service. Just said, hey, can you pull all the records pertaining to this address and the surrounding addresses and let me know what you find? I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. Not that it was fun to dig through, but it's worth that minor investment if there's ever that question is, well, were there ever storage tanks here? Well, let's find out before we buy it.
That is a major expense, getting the EPA out there, removing those tanks. I mean, you're talking months and months and months of delays to getting through to even where you can remove it. And then to get a clearance once it's removed, oh boy, that's the last thing you want to deal with.
The last thing I want to deal with. So that said, we're not in the dry cleaning business. You asked, I think, the question, where is this business going? For those that don't use laundromats, you don't think about it. Like, you don't go, oh man, like I didn't even know 5 years ago when I got into this business on accident, kind of like I fell into real estate. Once again, I would say it's the good Lord having mercy on an idiot. I just had a giant comforter to wash. And I'm like, where do we wash the giant comforter? Got on Google, found the closest laundromat. I walked into it. And this is the hallmarks of the laundromat that we look for today still to buy. The lights were hanging down. There's cockroaches in the corner. The place is filthy. Half the equipment doesn't work. I mean, it was just gross. And I walked in, and there's actually a lady was working there, which is kind of an anomaly also in the laundromat space, is to have a staffed laundromat, which all of our stores are staffed. But I walked in, I looked around, I had no idea what machine to use. And I asked the lady behind the counter, I'm like, hey, where do I put this? And she's like, you can put it in that machine over there. Cause that's kind of how she sounded, it smoked about 12 packs of cigarettes a day. And I'm like, and again, I'm in the building construction. I know the trades, and I just looked at this and I saw this as another flip. I'm like, this is just like a knee deep in trash foreclosure that we'd buy. This place just needs turned around. And I said to the lady there, I said, hey, who owns this? And do you think they'd ever want to sell it? She's like, I don't know. Here's his phone number. 3 weeks later, I own the laundromat. Literally 3 weeks from the time
is that right?
Yeah. So I own the laundromat.
Washing the comfort to owning the laundromat.
Right. We struck a deal. I bought the laundromat. I basically just gave him, a cash price for his existing equipment that still functioned. And then we just did a full gut rehab on that store. I mean, top to bottom, lights, flooring, paint, switches, entrance, timers on the doors, payment systems, digital payment systems, pay by phone. I mean, just revamp the entire store. And we took that store from doing $4,000 a month to almost $40,000 a month today in gross revenue, just from improving the way that store functions. And then we also added on ancillary revenue streams. So I always say in the laundry business, we get to serve three different customer profiles, really in any market cycle. We serve the high, middle, and low income earners, each in their own unique way. We always have the self-serve side of the business, which is by far the most profitable, which is about 60% of our business, where the customers just need a laundromat to go to. And believe it or not, that demographic that needs that self-serve laundromat is growing. I don't think if you ask the average American, are we getting richer in the middle and lower income brackets? Like, no, like that class of people that need that self-serve laundromat is unfortunately ever expanding. So that said, that business is actually growing right now. And there's generational people that use these facilities. That's the other crazy thing. I've got people that come into our stores and they're like, well, I came here with my grandparents and, they came with my parents, and now I'm here and now I'm bringing my kids. I'm like, what in the world? Like, you guys have been coming to the same laundromat for almost 60. You guys know you can buy a washing machine. But obviously,
do you make it, do they still sit there, or do you give them some type of entertainment area?
That's a great question. And this is one of the things we're doing. We can get into that, how we're differentiating our stores from everyone else in the market. So that's an entirely different, I guess we can hit that rabbit trail here in a second. What were we talking about before that though? The self-serve customer.
You were going through, self-serve.
Yeah. So the self-serve is one thing, but then we've also tacked on, because we fully staff our stores. So when you walk in the store, obviously all of our stores are branded the same. They look the same. They smell the same. It's the same equipment, same payment systems. You walk in the door, it's like, hey, Tony, welcome to Ellie's Laundry. That's our brand name. It's Ellie's Laundry. Welcome to Ellie's Laundry. So you get greeted when you walked in the front door. You don't get that when you go to the average neighborhood laundromat. If anyone's working there at all, let alone get greeted, hey, welcome to the store. You don't see it's clean. We had an incident, unfortunately, here maybe 6 months ago, and the police had to come to one of our stores, and they were in there and they're like, wow, like, these are not the laundromats we grew up in. I'm like, I know. It's exactly what I want to hear. Like, this place is nice. I'm like, yes, it is. So we also serve, with being fully attended, we do an incredible amount of drop-off business. Today's customers, the number of families that just drag in trash bags full of laundry and drop them at the front counter for our staff to wash, dry, and fold, it's amazing. I would have never thought that, but it's a part of the business that just continues to grow, especially, and again, the third customer profile we serve is that high income earner. So we also do a delivery business where you can get on a phone, get on your app, order laundry, we'll come to your front door, pick it up. The delivery business, what are people, and we even integrate not only with our own in-house drivers, but also with DoorDash. What are people not DoorDashing now? It's everything. If people are ordering food, they're also ordering their laundry right from their phone. Like, okay, well, and that's great for us because we can scale with DoorDash without necessarily having our own branded trucks, in which, we've got some of that stuff too, but it's also a faster way for us to scale is by integrating with third-party delivery service like that. So we get to serve, like I said, we get to serve the high, middle, and low-income earners in the laundry business all in their own unique way, which also leaves us relatively market cycle agnostic.
That's what I was about to say. This is recession resistance 100%. You've got everything covered. This is this is an amazing model. This is fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
This
We
is
think
the
so.
coolest thing. I mean, I'm blown away, to be quite honest. This is
Thank
an
you.
amazing model. I love it. I mean, this thing sounds fantastic. Well, how big are these locations? What size are you looking for in a location? I guess that's market and demographic specific, right?
Bingo.
But what is your average size of your laundromat?
Yeah, that's a great question. We range, our smallest store is 2,000 square feet, and our largest store is 4,000 square feet. And that being said, yes, it's one, obviously the space that we're looking at, because we're buying existing stores currently. That's our model. We're not doing anything ground up. I would love to do ground up for a lot of reasons. But speed to market is one of the hallmarks that we really look for in buying existing stores, much like existing RV resorts. Makes a lot more sense, both from an economic standpoint and also from a speed to market and return profile standpoint. So that said, 2,000 to 4,000 square feet is the size of store that we are buying. 2,000 is pretty small. 4,000 is pretty big. And again, so we're buying these existing stores. I'm not going to get picky, but we do demographic studies, very in-depth demographic studies on each of these stores that we buy. And if it doesn't match the demographic profiles we're looking for, then we won't buy it. I've passed on stores because they just didn't meet really what we're looking for. One of those is the average household income within 1 to 3 miles. There was a store we were looking at, and the average household income was like 110 grand within a mile. And I'm like, no, that's not our customer. Like 60% of our business needs to be that self-serve customer. And if you're making 110 grand a year, then you probably don't need a self-serve laundromat. Like, it just doesn't work.
Right. And the people that have the money, they don't care if you're 1 to 3 miles away. If you're a little farther, if you're going to come and pick it up, it doesn't matter if you're 7 miles away, right?
Right. But that side of our business isn't going to be we need that core self-serve customer,
business.
Right, in order to make a store work. So yeah,
and
2
to
to 4,000.
Looking for the lower income demographic, right? So higher population, lower income.
Right. Number of household renters within 1 to 3 miles, and every city will change. Obviously, in Memphis, unfortunately, 6 out of 10 houses in Memphis are renter occupied, generational renter occupied. The question that I always found interesting when I moved here a decade ago, no one asks you where you live in Memphis. They ask you where you stay.
That's good.
Where do you stay? Like, what do you mean? Where do I live? Like, I don't understand. So yeah, that's just one of the unique things so yeah, looking for that renter profile is part of it. Looking for the average household income is part of it. We do look at the 3 things that no one wants to talk about: race, religion, and income. It's like, yeah, that's actually a very important part of what we are. Race, religion, income. That's it. Yeah, we have to. And then that kind of changes slightly on what we offer in the stores. Is pretty well the same, but some of them may change based upon the demographic. Like, one of our stores, we're leaving, and I hate it, but we're leaving coins in that store. All of our other stores are coinless. They still take cash, but we're getting rid of the quarters. I mean, it's 2023. I mean, there's no reason. And some of our machines take $12 to start them. Nobody wants to put 48 quarters in a machine. Good grief. This is maddening. And it's maddening for our staff too, because they're handling, 10,000 quarters a week, going, why am I doing this? But that said, there's one store in particular that serves a demographic that, for whatever reason, just has an incredible amount of change. I mean, we literally net about $2,000 a week in excess change at these stores. And it's okay, well, I can't get rid of quarters at that store, but the next store, I know that these people don't carry quarters with them everywhere, and I don't know why this other demographic does, but it's a very different demographic. And so then, we take those things into account. So demographic studies are very important in what we decide and the size of store and the type of equipment we put in. So that's the long answer to your question on the size of the store.
That's amazing. Then you've been doing the laundromats for 5 years, you said, and you just picked up investors on it in the last year. So you've just been doing these on your own dime solely, or with partnerships for the last 5 years, and kind of honing in and creating and getting rid of all the inefficiencies and honing in your model. So this has been really insightful. That's different. I've not heard much about this laundry service, but it is very interesting. And I think you definitely have something here that can definitely attract investors, because the reality is, like we're sitting here talking about, I mean, the type of environment that we're heading into is very iffy, right? So this basically caters to that. So, just like there was another guy I was speaking with that he was, working on ATM machines, and he's saying, I place these in the lower income places, and, that's, they're always going to have that need for cash. So these, in going into this market cycle, that probably would work. I didn't think that was as fantastic as an idea as this one is, but this seems to really have some legs on it. So yeah, I think you found something here, Sam. I appreciate you sharing your insight on it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's a lot of fun. And I think that's, like you're saying, it's we get to serve, and we do serve. I think that's the thing that really has, because somebody asked me this the other day, they said, so what are you doing differently? I mean, because what we do, everything from, a full gut rehab in the store, new payment systems, one of the things we're just now starting to take. And I'm not a handout guy. I told you this in the beginning. Like, my family grew up with hard work. We never took a dime from anybody that probably could qualify for every program under the government's sun. But that said, we're taking EBT at our stores now. So people can come in and do their laundry on their EBT card, which is, hey, if they're gonna spend it somewhere, they might as well spend it with me. And so that's, again, improving those
better
payments.
Than on cigarettes and gambling.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But the thing I think that sets us apart, and I'm not just trying to be, toot our own horn here, but we've really taken a lot of time and thought about this, is our community engagement side of things. Believe it or not, laundromats are a community center. They're a hub. You walk in there and you've got 5 different languages being spoken. You've got people working side by side, doing their own laundry, being nice to each other. Providing that awesome store is one part of it, but you asked what people do. You asked that maybe 10 minutes ago. What do people do when they come in? Well, we've eliminated all those stupid games, all of the, the video games, the claw machines, the coin pushers, like all that stuff has to go. And we get rid of that, and we actually line the store with bookshelves. So we partner with other local nonprofits that come in and help us put in bookshelves and do literacy efforts here in the city. We actually won the Shelby County Junior Literacy Award last year, which is really cool to see. Like, oh, hey, you know what? We're making a meaningful impact. You walk in, you see kids and their parents reading to the kids, getting off of those screens, getting off of their devices, and actually spending time with each other, putting in kids' reading areas. And I think that's, and then we get the community involved, because it's a lending library. I mean, people bring in, boxes and boxes of books. They go out on the shelves. Those books go out. More books come in. So that's one of the things we do. We partner with churches and other local nonprofits, with Medicare groups, with some health organizations in the city, and we sponsor free laundry nights. So we'll split the cost with them. We give them codes where they can get into our loyalty card systems, and they may come in and put $500 on a loyalty card, but it's only going to cost them $250 to do it, which is about what our costs are. About 50% of what, per load. And so we'll split that with them. We do vouchers for kids at schools. Truancy is a big deal. So we give laundry cards to counselors at school that can pass out to families so they can discreetly come in and do their laundry without feeling like, the pariah of society, because kids that stink when they go to school don't go to school. So there's a lot of different things we're doing like that have really set us apart from the other laundry facilities in our area. And it's just the community support behind those efforts has been incredible. That none of that has been my creation. That's actually been all Elizabeth, whose name is Ellie. That's her nickname, and that's hence why we have Ellie's Laundry. But those are all her ideas along the way. It's like, oh, this is actually really working. So anyway, you asked what makes us different or what people do, and I think that's it, is finding ways to meaningfully engage in the community, and it really pays off in the end.
Man, Sam, that's very impressive. So Elizabeth and Ellie, Elizabeth, Ellie, that's amazing. And so I really, truly think that is a fantastic differentiator. And listening to what you're saying, that's exactly what this world really needs, is something like that, when you're offering things to get people off of these electronics, which are on 24/7, engaging in reading and pushing, literacy with reading. I'm a big reader. I read 3, 4, 5 books a month, as many as I can get my hands on them. When I'm not reading them, I'm listening to them on
That's awesome.
Audible or any other way I can listen to a book. So I think it's extremely important to gain knowledge through that. And then doing what you're saying is handing out laundry cards at schools for children. I mean, this is really impactful. That's amazing. You guys are doing a great service to your area and every area that you're serving. So that's awesome. I commend you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I think the fun part about this is that they're silly profitable. Like, I love being able to do good in the community. That's fun and all, but to do good in the community and make a very nice return for me and my investors it's just as much fun. It's like, hey, we get to do all this, but then also, by the way, we get to hit a high double-digit return, and that feels really good too.
Absolutely. Well, you're feeling good about making good money. That's
right. Absolutely.
Well, man,
Absolutely.
Sam, this has been an awesome time sitting and getting to know you a little bit since I'm always hearing you interview others. It's been very insightful. I appreciate you taking the time to, let everybody get to know you a little bit better and letting the viewers around here getting to know you. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you and find out more about getting involved, maybe investing with you and Bricken Investment Group, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Man, go to Bricken, Bricken, BrickenInvestmentGroup.com. You'll learn all about our laundry investment opportunities there. The Clean Laundry Fund is open. It's something where we're acquiring 20 to 25 stores in the next 2.5 years and implementing all of the same things we've just talked about here on this podcast. You can go to BrickenInvestmentGroup.com, get access to our all the documents that pertain to the Bricken Investment Group, or to the Clean Laundry Fund, rather. And just learn all about that. So that's the best way to really reach out to us. You can, you'll find all our contact info there as well. BrickenInvestmentGroup.com, BRICKEN investmentgroup.com.
Sam, thanks again. I really appreciate the time. Sorry I've mangled everything of you I've mentioned, but this is what I do. I just mangle everything up. But it's been a pleasure having you on today. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tony. It's been a blast. Certainly appreciate it.